Hey man, got a question for you.
Huh?
So I'm gonna do a video, Kefka versus Sephiroth, you know? Who's the best Final Fantasy villain?
Oh, you're doing that? That's been done to death.
No. Well, yeah, kinda, but I'm gonna do my thing, and anyway, answer the question though, right?
Okay, I mean, sure. Who's my favorite? Who is my favorite?
The killer clown who became a god, or the anime edgelord who also became a god? Who's the best Final Fantasy villain? Hey guys, it's One Track Mind, and welcome to an epic showdown between two titanic troublemakers, a duo of devastation, partners in peril, an apocalyptic alliance. This is Kefka versus Sephiroth, the definitive, argument-ending, firm canonic fact: who is the best Final Fantasy villain? Let's talk about it. And before we do, let's make a deal. If you vote Kefka, like the video. If you vote Sephiroth, subscribe. If you feel it's neither, comment neither and who you think is best. But that said, feel free to do all of the above regardless of your opinion. Just to keep it interesting, I'm going to compare these two characters in the context of 5 different categories, give them a score, and whomever comes out on top in the end is the winner. And the loser will have to live with second place forever. The categories are impact, evil, power, charisma, and most iconic. This video is going to contain major spoilers for the Final Fantasy series, so if that scares you, go play the games and then come back. Okay? Okay. Before getting into the showdown, however, a brief overview of each character. Kefka was the first of the experimental Magitech Knights, soldiers created through a form of fusion that allowed them to use magic. As Magitech was still not a perfected process, Kefka's mind was damaged, and he became a sociopathic murderer. Not much is known about his character before this transformation, but what matters is that during the events of Final Fantasy VI, he is cruel, brutal, and ruthless. This ambitious thirst for blood caused him to rise in the ranks of the Gestalian Empire, earning him a place at the right hand of Emperor Gestal himself. Am I saying that right? I don't know. Anyway, eventually, he turns on the Emperor as well, disturbs the rest of the warring triad, Final Fantasy VI's volatile deities, and ultimately rearranges the face of the planet. In the ruined world, he rules from on high in a tower constructed of wreckage and rubble created by the cataclysmic destruction over a land inhabited by survivors of the de facto apocalypse who live in constant fear of his light of judgment. Sephiroth's background is similar but a bit more mysterious and far more complicated. He was also an experimental super soldier, injected in utero with cells from the extraterrestrial Jenova, who at the time was mistaken for one of the Cetra, a race of ancient indigenous people that could speak with the planet. The Cetra were, in a twist of tragic irony, reduced to near extinction by Jenova when it crash-landed in a meteorite on the planet 2,000 years before the events of Final Fantasy VII. Sephiroth's success in battle emboldened the Shinra Company, those that employed Hojo, the scientist who created Sephiroth, to continue this, quote, Jenova project, birthing Soldier, a breed of experimental knights injected with the cells of Jenova. Sephiroth was a respected and idolized celebrity war hero, and the poster boy for Shinra's ambitions for global domination. He is driven mad during the Nibelheim incident, where he discovers the remains of Jenova, who he has told all his life is his mother. He also mistakes her for one of the Cetra, and vows revenge on humanity for their supposed wrongdoing to his people. He is defeated by Cloud and tossed into the Lifestream, where he lay dormant for 5 years. When he resurfaced, an event known as the Reunion commenced. All of Jenova's remains, now spread across the world, and various Sephiroth clones came to life, called psionically by Jenova within Sephiroth's true body, converged on the North Cave, and, skimming over some very convoluted stuff here, eventually Sephiroth uses the black materia to summon Meteor and waits for it to injure the planet, where he thinks being submerged in the ensuing surge of Lifestream will make him a god. All right, you got all that? That's, yeah. Okay, the hard part's over. Now we can dive into the fun stuff. Now's a good time to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and let me know in the comments who you think the best Final Fantasy villain is. Let's start by talking about impact. Both Kefka and Sephiroth have machinations to destroy the world as its inhabitants know it, but only one of them succeeds in destroying the world. So this category should clearly go to Kefka, right? Well, not so fast there, my boy. Lest we forget, Sephiroth is a celebrity. He's renowned the world over. Kids aspire to be like him. His enemies run from him. Women swoon over him. Sephiroth is a part of the reason Shinra is a feared and ominous entity in the world of Final Fantasy VII. Not to mention, Sephiroth is partly Jenova, and even though he is ultimately tricked by her, making him a bit of a rube if we're being honest, they're kind of a package deal. And if we look at it that way, they are also responsible for the near extinction of the planet's population. But on top of that, they summon a meteor that comes this close to making landfall, and all live in terror of this. Also, Kefka does kill General Leo, a kindred spirit and potential new friend. He even joins your party very briefly. But Sephiroth kills Aerith. You know, that thing people are still talking about? This game came out in '97? And I don't remember anyone saying anything about General Leo outside the context of like a walkthrough or a guide. So, while Kefka does destroy the world, I'm going to call this one a tie. These two have far too much going on, have wreaked far too much havoc, and I think the argument can be made for either side if you really think about it. Results? Tie. Well, this one's kind of easy. Sephiroth is a twisted, murdering bastard. He does dark, terrifying acts of unspeakable cruelty, and indeed threatens the entire world with the looming threat of Meteor, all in pursuit of ascension to godhood. But he's also deluded. He thinks he's on some sort of crusade to redeem a lost people. He believes his mother to be one of these, quote, ancients, and that he is answering her call from beyond. He acts in madness, triggered by false pretenses. He's on a fool's errand, a wild goose chase, a ruse, a farce. His quest is a sham. Kefka is just a sicko. He delights in chaos and despair. He schemes, machinates, murders, tortures, teases, tampers, torments, and tricks with reckless abandon. He poisons Doma's water supply, needlessly killing women and children, violating direct orders just for fun. He lights Figaro Castle on fire on a whim. He violates the sanctity of the sealed realm, steals the power of countless espers, killing them in the process, brutally murders General Leo, a beloved hero of the Empire, manipulates and then murders his own emperor, deliberately disturbs the balance of the warring triad statues, causing, knowingly mind you, a global cataclysm that rearranges the face of the planet. And it doesn't stop there. He leads a cult of magic users that maraud the land in search of random violence, calls up long dormant monsters to serve and terrorize for him, and burns entire shanty towns of survivors from his tower with the mighty light of judgment. His words during the final battle say it all. Life, dreams, hope. Such meaningless things. I'll destroy them all. Kefka is evil for the sake of it. And I gotta admit, I miss villains like this. Kefka takes this one. Results? Kefka. Kefka becomes a god, and his evil, otherworldly creations rain terror, far-reaching acts of wanton violence that devastate the inhabitants of the Final Fantasy VI game world. I mean, it takes up to 16 of your party members to ascend his tower and defeat his monstrous amalgamations. And in the end, he looms over your party in heavenly golden light and unleashes hell and wind upon you. Only the strongest of your cast of righteous warriors will survive this encounter. Many a quest will end here and now in the final showdown with Kefka. But it should be noted that for a good portion of the game, Kefka is a weakling. He is easily thwarted by our heroes on several occasions, and is even stabbed by Celeste before the cataclysm, reminding the player of his tendency towards cowardice, fearing the sight of his own blood. Sephiroth, on the other hand, is a badass all along. The player gets a taste of his power early on during a flashback sequence, where you join his party and fight high-level monsters that are defeated easily by him and barely scratched by Cloud. These events take place well before the story begins, and he only increases in power from there. Sephiroth also ascends to godhood, and although he is ultimately defeated by the FF7 crew, he perseveres through death for one more final showdown with Cloud before his energy is dispersed back into the lifestream. This is a close one, but I'm going to have to give it to Sephiroth, if only because he is the most powerful entity in the game world, save the Emerald and Ruby weapons, for the entirety of the game. Results? Sephiroth. Well, it's Kefka. Let's just say it. This is a great character. His laugh was such a nice touch. When you heard it, it sent a chill through you. But also, you were excited. Because Kefka's here, and what in the hell is this guy gonna say or do? The first time you see him, he makes his Empire grunt lackeys brush sand off his boots. In the desert. And despite being a truly evil bastard, there are several moments where he's genuinely funny. Kefka was really the true star, and sort of the main character of Final Fantasy VI. He moved the narrative, mixed things up, and the story centered on his rise to power and the ultimate realization of his plan to cover the world in despair. Look, a lot of people are going to hate that I'm saying this, but Sephiroth kind of sucks. Beyond his iconic and badass character design, this guy does and says a lot of nothing throughout the game. He appears and disappears, looking goofy and stiff, with barely a word, phasing in and out of existence, and then poops out some creepy mutilated limb of Genova for you to fight. The reality is, a lot of what's cool about Sephiroth is told to you, not experienced by you. The final showdown, with its epic score, is truly a huge moment that leaves an impression on the player, which I believe is a big part of his continued popularity. But in terms of charisma, Sephiroth is a dead fish. I couldn't find it on the internet, but I bet you all of the actual things said by Sephiroth over the course of Final Fantasy VII, a 3-disc game, mind you, could fit on one page. Sephiroth is all bite and no bark. And if you like that, then fine. But charismatic, he is not. Kefka wins this category. Results? Kefka. Well, it's Sephiroth. I don't think I've ever seen a video game villain as beloved as Sephiroth. He's appeared in movies, spin-offs, action figures. I mean, the scope and reach of this character defy my abilities to capture it for you. Sephiroth was and is huge. Sephiroth tattoos, Sephiroth mugs, Sephiroth pugs. Sephiroth, Sephiroth, Sephiroth. The whole world knows who Sephiroth is. I bet if you walked up to a random person on the street and asked them who Sephiroth is, you got a 50-50 chance of them knowing. Now that is a gaming icon. And Sephiroth's contributions to bringing gaming to the mainstream, and particularly turn-based RPGs, are not lost on me. I'm grateful for this character, as we may have missed out on a lot of amazing stuff if it weren't for him. He is the most thin while also incredibly dense character maybe ever in Final Fantasy, and that's saying something. But something about that duality in him clicked with people. Whatever it was, it worked. And Sephiroth is easily the most iconic Final Fantasy villain of all time. Let's not even bother going any further than that. Results? Sephiroth. Well, it seems we've got ourselves a tie here. That's fair. 2 great characters, 2 great games, both with their own unique strengths and weaknesses. Let's just pack it up and go home, Chief. Our work here is done. Da-da-da-da-da-da! Bonus round! I should say that I did not plan for this to be a tie. I wrote this script honestly, and as a stream of consciousness. I thought about each category as I got there and shared my honest opinion. So it's actually very cool to see these 2 characters stand up against each other so well naturally. All I can do from here is share with you my personal favorite. And so that said, I'm declaring the winner as Kefka. He may not be as marketable, as beloved, or as widely recognizable as Sephiroth from 7, but as far as a well-written, fleshed out, and fully realized villain, who in a shocking twist for the time actually accomplished his insane goal of ruining the world, I just don't think you can beat this arc. After all, Sephiroth's true puppeteer was Jenova, lingering about, ever present, ever in control, manipulating the hapless Sephiroth until the bitter end. And even though they are sort of a package deal, I can't help but feel like Sephiroth is the big green head and Jenova is the man behind the curtain. And that, for me, isn't going to cut it. FF6 was one of the only games in the series where the villain is the villain is the villain. Every other title had a bigger, badder force waiting to be revealed behind the main antagonist, pulling the strings until its presence was made known and your party gathered their strength to go and face the true threat. In 6, Kefka was the true threat. And he was right under your nose, a clever but weak trickster who wormed his way to terrible glory, a worthy adversary, a worthy adversary for your heroes to rise up and overcome. But what do you think? And no, seriously, what do you think? I mean, it's kind of a tie still, unless you actually respect my opinion. So given all the info here in this video, who do you think is the best? Or is it truly a tie? Or am I just wrong entirely and is a villain from a different Final Fantasy title meant to be the top dog? Let's talk about it in the comments. Thanks so much for watching this video. My name is One Track Mind. You can follow me on IG, Twitch, and Twitter at One Track Mind TV. Please click like and subscribe to the channel for more content. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye. You don't have to stop recording and start over. You can just keep recording. That's the beauty of digital recording. It just keeps going. You don't need to stop. You can just keep going. Now's a good time to subscribe to the channel. Like the video.